Ooh, update on the car. 99 red balloons playing. So, got the radiator out, and I was gonna attempt to do all these belts and pulleys here. The last video I shot was the crank pulley here, and obviously that's an addition. There's lighting's not great, but obviously this is an addition on top of the crank to run to your tensioner up to your supercharger. So I finally got the radiator out. I told my buddy, I was like, hey, I'm ready to pull this front end off. He was like, don't do it. It's actually a lot more work than you think. It does look simple. It looks like you just, it's just this piece here, up here, right there. Doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I took the bumper off. That's easy. But there's a lot more that goes to it than that. You've got this fan here. You've got some electrical stuff going in there. So I said, forget it. Let me just take the radiator off and see what I'm working with. And I was afraid, because what I wanted to do, I wanted to sit on my stool here and just stare at the front of the car, and not have to, I could see everything. Not have to go blindly, but really you're not that blind in here. I mean, the only blind spot was just these supporting bolts around here, around the main bolt. That was it. Everything else, man, you pretty much see. So it was wobbling terribly, and guess what? This damn pulley, this tensioner pulley, was so loose. And that's where, I'm going to point from the bottom here, if I can. Obviously, that's all. Let's see if I can get in there. Oh, sorry. There's your tensioner pulley. And then this wheel and this looking wheel thing is all one piece. And so that's a spring, and that's what tensions the belt there. This metal housing up against this big supercharger bracket that runs all the way down. Get my hand back up in here. God, kind of a pain. This bracket. So anyways, this bolts up to this supercharger bracket behind. And once I finally took the belt off, I mean, this thing was, you could just jiggle it. It was so loose. And there's a Loctite nut on the back of this bolt. You got to hold it. I was trying to stick some kind of wrench up here, but get your hand underneath here, stick a 19 mil wrench behind there, and get a nice ratchet, tighten that thing up. I took it apart, put some new bearing grease in that guiding bolt. That thing was like chalky white and nasty, and I spun the wheel. The wheel did not spin freely. If it's freely spinning, you'll get belt squeak, and it's time to replace it. But this thing was not spinning freely, the tensioner pulley, and then this thing was just freaking loose. Nothing else seemed to be, the relationship between these two was really good. I mean, it's tight. There's no rattling or anything. So my buddy's going to be pissed at me, but bro, I just threw that thing back on there. It was causing a slight wobble in the crank. But this thing is so loose, so I mean, it's just gonna go like that. It's gonna cause this to jiggle a little bit. But man, after buttoning this thing up, I am super optimistic here. Taking this Mishimoto out was kind of a pain in the butt. That's a tight fit in there. Review on this thing runs my car 20 degrees colder in the dead heat of summer in South Florida. This is the X-Line Performance. God, this thing is so good. It's stock dimensions, which they're not lying. It is stock. And you put an electric fan on here and it makes it kind of a tight fit, but stock dimensions, and it's 3 rows, not just 2 rows. That's arguably 33% more time. The antifreeze, the coolant is in the radiator before it hits your motor. Boy, I'm not joking. It's 20 degrees colder with a shitty electric fan. And the fan's kicking on and kicking off, and I don't even care. I mean, the thing is just running so cold that I'm not overthinking it. It's awesome. It's $500 brand new, and it's worth every freaking penny for these cars that overheat. The X-Line E36 Performance. Make sure it is a 3-row. God, you've got to go on that website and make sure it's a 3-row and stock dimensions, and it'll fit your supercharger setup because of this gosh darn extension extension of the crank pulley. You know, that's that much less space you got to work with in your engine bay that's already tight. Got the nice thermostat there, and man, I am optimistic. So every bolt that I can possibly get to, every nut, I'm just gonna, put some hands on it, make sure it's tight. I remember when the car was running, I shot this. I guess this is the main serpentine belt that runs all the way through here. That thing was not wobbling at all. This thing was good. All these pulleys were good. That belt had no issue. So I was going to replace everything, but man, it's running really well. And the belts were replaced on here not too long ago. And it was just this dang this dang tension pulley that was super loose for some reason. So I'm pretty happy. I'm going to button this thing back up and see if I can get it started. And then the interesting part will be, do they wobble or not? If they don't, it's time to rip this thing. All right, stay tuned.